Hello, and welcome back to Sinister Sisters. I am Shrimp, and this is your True Crime Tuesday episode this week. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Kat. I am the Sinister Sister. One of two.
And you present.
I do the Soapbox Sunday episodes. And this week on Soapbox Sunday, we are talking about the British royal family. And going to give you some sick deets about the history.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Got some skeletons in their closet, haven't they?
Skeletons wearing jewels. Indeed.
Spooky, scary, and classy.
Actually, this is a fun fact.
Okay.
Did you know that the coffins of monarchs are lined with iron so that they don't decompose anywhere near as quickly as a normal person would?
So they can be stuffed and put on the mantelpiece in 10 years?
I guess. I mean, have you ever
That's
seen
weird.
the Buckingham Palace?
No.
Me neither.
I guess maybe on the crown.
It's a good show. I like it.
It is a good show. Anyways, this week on our True Crime Tuesday episode, we're talking about Linda Hazzard. Have you ever heard of this
No.
story before?
Only in looking
okay.
briefly at the notes for this episode, like just the name in the notes.
To make sure that I had done it?
No, to get something else from some other episode. Like the sources or something.
Here's the tea, listeners. We've been trying to record this episode for like 3 weeks.
A long time.
And we've set dates, and then I've just not been ready.
Shrimp is very busy right now. She's got a full-time job, full-time school, full-time boyfriend. You know.
And I'm like moving in
Yeah.
the process of. I don't live in my own house. I am a squatter. So there's just a lot going on.
But we're here now,
We're here.
and we're ready. And we haven't just wasted 5 minutes talking about nothing, so.
Only 3. Okay. Before we get into the story, though, we do have to do some self-promotion.
Of course.
Follow us on Instagram at sinistersisters.podcast. Email us at sinistersisterspod@gmail.com.
Hell yeah.
Fill in the case request form on Instagram bio, or in the Instagram bio and the episode description.
Hell yeah.
It says case request, but if you want to request something for whatever your pseudonym is, yes, Cat, for whatever Cat is doing, then you do that too. Cool.
Yeah.
Content warnings for today's episode is medical neglect. This is our second episode on a medical profesh, which is kind of concerning that we're 13 episodes in and 2 of them are about medical professionals.
Yeah.
Anyway, so medical neglect and abuse, disordered eating patterns, and like talking about like stuff to do with eating and food and stuff.
Okay.
No mentions of calories, though, I don't think. And then obviously murder.
Classic.
This is true crime. So, Linda Laura Hazzard was born as Linda Laura Burfield in Carver, Minnesota. She was one of 8 children of Susanna Neal and Montgomery Burfield. She was born in, I don't know when she was born, but she was practicing medicine in 1908. So she was like born in the 1800s at some point.
Old-timey.
Yes, she's old-timey. She had no medical degree, but there was a loophole in the state of Washington that allowed people to be grandfathered in by practitioners of alternate medicine. Very suspicious, and I'm sure it's not a thing anymore, but. And
You
I
would
also
hope
couldn't
not.
find any information about what the loophole actually was. So,
Mm,
it's probably just part of Washington's history that they don't want us to know. So,
probably.
she had no medical degree, she had no medical, like formal medical training, but she was licensed to practice medicine, and she studied under a doctor named Edward Hooker Dewey, who was well known at the time and was well known for believing in the benefits of fasting, foreshadowing,
Mm,
perhaps.
classic. A little bit of intermittent fasting, a little bit of not
Mm-hmm.
eating breakfast and calling it
Mm-hmm.
health choices. Hell yeah.
So there's not really much that's like known about her like younger years. Actually, there's nothing at all that's known about her young years because they didn't care in the 1800s, and she
as
was nobody. You
as
know,
we
we
established a
took
few weeks ago.
yeah, so people were just vibing, like being born and dying left, right, and center, and nobody cared.
Crazy.
Crazy. And so I don't know anything about her until she starts practicing medicine. Um, she starts practicing medicine under this Edward Hooker guy, Edward Hooker Dewey, who is an actual medical doctor, was an actual medical doctor. But what she did was develop these fasting methods that she claimed was a cure all for literally everything because it ridded the body of toxins that caused imbalances.
Mm, hell
Sounds
yeah.
like maybe a little spicy, but this sounds like the Young Living
Oh my
people.
god, yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
Freely the banana girl, but whatever her
Yeah,
freaking name is.
that too.
But I think
Freely
she's a
the banana.
carnivore now. So there's that. I think
Is
I
she?
heard that. I heard that, yeah. I could be lying, but
I know that there's another her YouTube channel was called Raw Alignment. Elise, she was like a high raw vegan or whatever they're called, and then now she went carnivore. Like it's just one eating disorder to another, isn't it?
yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, um, so over the course of her career, she wrote 3 books about what she claimed to be the
Oh.
science behind fasting and how it could cure diseases. So she was like, spreading this to people. She was well known in Washington for like purporting this to be like something that you could do and not die.
Okay.
So taking it to new levels, she wasn't happy with just books and notoriety. She established a sanitarium, which she called Wilderness Heights, which was located in Olalla, Washington, where patients fasted for days, weeks, or months on a diet that consisted of only small amounts of tomatoes, asparagus juice, and occasionally orange juice.
What the fuck?
Yeah. She, like, low-key was not feeding them.
No, none of that was food. That was all liquids.
Yes.
Well,
And
tomatoes are food, I guess, but fuck.
yes, but we'll get into it. A lot of it was strained tomato soup. So, still a liquid.
Fuck.
I mean, we sit on our pedestals of modern medicine and, understanding what the body is, but
True.
people were just dying. We talked about this in that episode too, that people just died of the stomach flu and it was just regular. So I can see why people would, if it worked for
I
them, like I
suppose.
can see why they would think that maybe, because probably if you said to someone from the 1800s, we're going to put radiation in your body and it's going to cure you of,
Mm,
or put you into remission, they'd been like,
nah, bitch.
bitch.
Get your alien pow pow away from me.
Yes,
Bitch.
so I'm not an oven. Um
Did they even
So
have
some people,
ovens in the 1800s? Or did they just have open flames?
well, they had ovens, but like, if she was practicing medicine in the like early 1900s, she would have been like born in the later part of the 1800s. So they had like stoves, right, that you put fires in.
Mm. So it's just an unopened flame, a closed
Yeah,
flame, if you will.
it's an enclosed flame. And also, maybe this is like a very I remember watching a documentary about, like, it was on YouTube. It was about hazards in the home in the 1800s, and when
Mm.
they first put fires in stoves inside, people just died from carbon monoxide poisoning because they didn't vent them,
Oh,
because that was never an issue outside, right?
dude, I I never thought of that. Fuck, that sucks. People
Yeah,
just
and
do be
that's
dying in the 1800s. That's
yeah, and
yikes.
that's when chimneys were invented.
Hmm.
Thank fuck for that.
Wild that that was something you had to invent.
I know.
The 1800s
Anyways,
slander is back.
fuck the 1800s, honestly. Who gives a
Truly.
shit? No one from the 1800s is alive now,
True.
probably. So,
No, that was like 200 years ago, dude.
oh, dude, I
Like
can't count.
1820 was over 200 years ago. Is that fucked?
Well, I mean, tying into your personal episode of this week, there are people that believe that the royal family in Britain drink the blood of the young to keep themselves alive.
As you do. But
So
like,
maybe they're just zombies or vampires or whatever, just chilling in Windsor Castle.
well, like truly though, the Queen and Prince Philip were not that old. Like they were old. Lots of people don't live to be in their late 90s, but it's not uncommon for people to live into
Yeah,
that
and they would have
age.
had like the best doctors and very nutritious food and,
Yeah.
you know. Anyways, some
Anyway.
people obviously publicly endorsed Hazard's methods, but dozens of people did die under her care. She claimed that the deceased had succumbed to undisclosed and previously undiagnosed illnesses such as cancer and cirrhosis of the liver.
Ah.
Her opponents claimed that they all died of starvation, and local residents in Olala, which is fun to say,
Ah, la la la.
referred to the sanitarium as Starvation Heights because she called it Wilderness Heights.
Oof.
So this is about murder, but there's also a lot of like conspiracy surrounding this woman that I mean, we'll get into it, but there was, well, we won't get into this, but we'll get into one of them. But the other one, the other conspiracy is her Linda Hazard's career basically ended when her sanitarium burned down in 1935 it burned down. And when people from the town were like on this the site of the sanitarium, they found a body that had been buried outside, that had been shot in the head. And the conspiracy theory was that this dude that was found shot dead was threatening to expose Linda Hazard's practices. Because I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but she didn't let the people who were staying there write or leave.
Like ever?
As long as they were paying. But they,
Hmm.
like, they weren't, they didn't, they were given like a 6-week treatment, right? So they would leave after 6 weeks. They pay for a 6-week treatment. If they were there for 6 weeks, they were in that house for 6 weeks. They didn't go on day outings to the park or whatever.
Okay.
And they
Okay.
weren't allowed to write letters. And any letters that came to her patients, she took and read before she gave them to her patients. And so if it was something that she didn't deem to be acceptable, she wouldn't give them to her patients.
She
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
Aw.
So yeah, Starvation Heights. So in 1912, two wealthy British sisters, it's ours, baby. We're wealthy British sisters. I
British
don't know where
sisters.
we're not the wealthy kind, though, are we?
No, we're
No,
not posh.
no, we're very not.
We're very
Um,
chavs.
yeah. Speak for yourself, bruv. I'm not a chav. I'm road. Anyways, in 1912, two wealthy British sisters attended Hazzard Sanitarium and underwent her treatments. So basically, people would like reach out to her and be like, "I'm suffering with ghouls in my blood," and she'd be like, "Yeah, you have to
Huh?
starve for the next 6 weeks," because that was a thing. That was a diagnosis in maybe not the 1800s, but a long time ago. It was ghouls in your blood or demons in your blood or something, and it was treated with cocaine.
Oh, a party.
Mm, a party to get the demons out of your blood.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, they'd go to like, and she'd say, "You need 6 weeks of this." She also gave them days long enemas. That was a very common yeah, a very common treatment, quote unquote, that Linda Hazzard doled out, and that just exacerbated everything because like you're enemized for
Yeah,
like literally 3 days. There's nothing in your body anymore.
that's insane.
Yeah,
What
it's
the
insanity.
shit?
So it was suspected that one of these sisters managed to smuggle a telegram out of the house to alert their governess of what was happening. Unfortunately, the governess lived in Australia, so by the time she arrived to rescue
Oh
the girls,
no.
one of them was already dead. Her name was Claire Williamson, and this was the victim that got Linda Hazzard on trial. So in
Hmm.
1912, she was convicted of manslaughter for the death of Claire, who weighed less than 50 pounds when she died. And this is a grown woman. Like, it is the 1800s, so beauty standards are different. Like, there was less, like, obesity, whatever, and they were rich people, but 50 pounds?
That's like what a child weighs. A
Yeah,
small child.
a small child. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Um, Dorothea, who was Claire's sister, she was the one who was able to get the telegram out, and probably, and she testified at Linda Hazzard's trial,
Wow.
but she weighed less than 60 pounds at this point. Yeah, yeah. At the trial, it was
Fuck.
proven that Linda Hazzard had forged Claire's will and stolen most of her money and valuables. So this is the second conspiracy theory because Linda Hazzard's treatments were quite expensive for the time. And so the tea is that she might have been catering to more or wealthier clients that would come, she would kill them, and she would take their money and life insurance and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's believed that Linda Hazard did this for most of her victims, and women very often do kill for monetary gain.
Yeah.
Not a lot of female serial killers kill just for the violence of it. It's like, I want your money or you wronged me kind of thing, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So she was sentenced to 2 to 20 years in prison for manslaughter, which she served in Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla, Walla Walla, Washington. She was released on parole on December 26th in 1915 after serving 2 years. And the following year, which was 1916, she was given a full pardon by Governor Ernest Lister. I don't know why she was pardoned. Another conspiracy theory is that he believed in her medicine and so wanted to like get her out of being in prison.
That's insane.
Yes. After this, her and her husband then moved to New Zealand where she practiced as a dietitian and osteopath until 1920. a dietitian.
Great. Emphasis on the
It
die. Ah.
Oh no. It gets worse. In
Oh.
1920, she returned to Olalla, where she opened a new sanitarium and continued to supervise fasts until the sanitarium burned to the ground in 1935. This was coined as a wellness center or like a health whatever. It wasn't a sanitarium because she had lost her medical license at this point and she was not able to get it back. So she couldn't purport to be a doctor anymore because she wasn't. And so
Yeah.
she couldn't offer treatments. She could offer packages or experiences, alternate health stuff, but not doctory.
Like a spa.
Yeah,
Death
kind
spa.
of. Yeah, pretty much. Some poetic justice, however, is that Hazzard herself died in 1938 of starvation while attempting a
Ah.
fasting cure. Love that. So to go back a little bit, in 1910, on March 28th, someone named Earl Edward Erdman died of starvation in the Seattle General Hospital. He had been a patient of Hazzard's and kept a diary of what he was fed.
Oh, wow.
Most of this consisted, I have it here, most of it consisted of oranges. So it says that on February 1st, he saw Dr. Hazzard and began treatment on this date. No breakfast, mashed soup dinner, and mashed soup for supper.
What
But
is mashed soup?
I think it probably means what we would consider blended. So
Oh, yeah,
a
okay.
creamy soup, because we also have February 9th through 11th, one orange for breakfast and strained soup for dinner and strained soup for supper.
So, broth.
Broth, basically, yeah.
Flavored water. Okay.
Flavored
Yeah,
water.
that'll keep you alive for sure.
February 17th, ate 3 oranges today. For a grown-up, 3 oranges.
Like an orange is
It,
like one navel orange or like 2 mandarin oranges is like a snack.
yeah. Yep.
Bruh.
And so because he was in this journal, he was taking note of what he was eating, but also how he was feeling. Which is
cool.
really, well, it's kind of sad actually, because
Well.
he is talking about how February 16th, slept better last night, head quite dizzy, eyes yellow, streaked, and red. And then he called on a doctor on February 19th, but didn't say what really happened. February 20th, dizzy all day. February 21st, backache today just below the ribs. And then he starts talking about how he's not sleeping and that he has a bunch of headaches. That his heart rate is up to 95 beats a minute and he's sweating profusely.
Jeez.
Sleeping very well. Pain below ribs. Did not sleep so very well Friday night. Pain in right side just below ribs in the back. This is February 26th. Pain in the night. Ate 1.5 cups tomato broth at 10:45 a.m. Ate 2.5 pump small oranges at 4:30 p.m. Felt better afternoon than for the last week. And that is what he ate and was feeling until he died on March 28th. Yeah.
I was rooting for him.
Yes, unfortunately, he did die. But his journal was used posthumously to kind of really get a grasp on what she was actually doing in that place.
Yeah.
So
yes.
All in all, she's never been convicted of murder. She was only ever convicted of manslaughter, and it was overturned. So technically, that doesn't count anymore. But all in all, 17 deaths have been attributed to Linda Hazzard from 1908 to 1912. and then her own in 1938. So at least there's that. Like, I don't wish death on people, but at least she
Yeah.
died in the way that she was killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That one's horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know why this seems like so much worse than like a gory murder. But
I think maybe because she was trusted,
yeah.
and I don't know, there was a lot of like, we think a lot of like fear, I think, in the 1800s. Like, you didn't really, like, you could die from the stomach flu. You
Yeah.
didn't, at least now you can be like, oh, I don't feel very well, I can go to the hospital, they're gonna do what they can, and like, there is a strong chance that I will survive whatever this is.
Yeah.
But in the 1800s, there was a lot of fear, I would think. I wasn't alive. That you'd just be dead, you know?
That's true. That
And
is
I
true.
think it's gross because Linda Hazzard capitalized on that and she profited from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
That is my story.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Kat's taking a singing class, singing for dance or something.
I
Thank you for tuning in to Sinister Sisters on this True
thank
Crime Tuesday and
you.
listening to me shrimp talk for 20 minutes or something like that with no breaks and no breaths because I am the most talented woman that has ever lived and I do so good.
Thank you. Bye.
Sometimes you have to be your own cheerleader. Bye.
Bye.